Welcome to the OpinioNation podcast, a conversational examination of the topics in our cultural narrative which do not make sense. Welcome to the 7th episode of the OpinioNation podcast. And I'm a bit sick this week, so if you'll have to forgive me if I go into a coughing fit at some point. But the topic I would like to discuss today is relating to democracy and how people make their decisions on how to vote. You see what I mean?
I do, yes.
Yes, you ever hear this phrase, you're entitled to your opinion?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah, some opinions are more equal than others, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so what's been bothering me at the moment is politics seems to have become something like a team sport rather than people rationally deciding what's best for themselves and others.
Yeah, I'll vote for this party because my daddy voted for this party and it's the one I've always voted for.
Or a peer group just hates the other party and without really examining the coherency of the reasoning.
Or policy.
Or policy, yeah, exactly. So what seems to have been happening from my perspective is instead of asking the people what they want, parties decide what they want to do, which is best for, I don't know, for example, high-income earners need more money apparently, which is, a really right-wing policy.
Yep.
But then they'll try to sell it.
Yeah. It's become marketing as opposed to running the country.
Yeah, like if it was a team sport, it's a competitive sales. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of it being a rational and coherent plan for the prosperity of the people, it becomes my ideas are better than your ideas.
Yeah, which is not how you should run things.
Yeah, well, there's the plan for decades now seems to have been following along the lines of if rich people have more money, then they employ more people. And we've already discussed how this is actually a fallacy.
Yeah, that's
right?
false. Yeah.
But even small things like refugees, like whether they're evil bastards or whether they're slightly evil bastards seems to be where the narrative lays, somewhere in between those two poles.
Yeah.
You see? So when the parameters of the discourse are between those two poles, then everybody argues amongst themselves and finds a position between those two poles.
Yeah.
Are refugees bad or just really, really bad?
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of considering what else there might be.
Or the values of what sort of country we want to be.
Yeah. Should we help people in need?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's just one of the ideas. But another one might be, say, okay, coal mine is going ahead.
Yep.
A party decides this is going to happen and then they start to sell the idea.
Yep.
And so one party will say, yes, we'll have this coal mine and we'll give them a loan to set it up. And yes, we know they're going to put all their money in tax havens. We've already seen the business model.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other party will go, all right, we'll let it all happen except we won't give them a loan. So the parameters are between coal mine yes or coal mine yes with assistance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the population of Australia are essentially being taught that that's where the argument lays.
Yeah. It denies rational thought in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Critical thinking.
Yeah, so...
And it's also... It's not democratic either.
Well, democracy is supposed to be government by the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the demos is the citizens, the people.
Yeah.
But instead it seems to have become top-down where you just have to convince the people that you're not particularly evil.
Yeah. I mean, there was a mine going in recently. I think it was Adani.
Yeah.
The environmental minister might have been for the Liberals. I'm not sure exactly who's doing this. I know his face when I see it, but I can't remember his name. His hometown electorate, a recent poll has found, his hometown, like his electorate that elected him, they are against the Adani mine.
Right.
They're also pro-green energy.
Right.
However, their elected representative, who is meant to be working on their behalf, is the complete opposite of what the town actually wants.
Yeah, which is not rule by the citizenry. It's not ruled by
No.
the people. I mean, we discussed this idea of the illusions of democracy about the Princeton study in another episode.
Yeah,
where
and this is pretty
there's
much
only-
showing that.
And there's only the same 30% chance that a policy in the US will actually be made into law, no matter how much approval there is. If 99% of people approve of a policy, there's still only a 30% chance it's going to go through. And if no one approves of a policy, there's still a 30% chance it's going to go through. And so, yeah, what does correlate, as we know, is the big money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost become normalised that we look at the Liberal Party in Australia as if they're serving the ultra-rich, the elites of society. It's like just become normal. Of course they are.
Yeah.
So why do people keep voting for them? Because most of the people who vote for basically themselves having less money and the rich having more.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
But that's where you get this mixed bag idea. So you'll have, I don't know, you have some narrative about how brown people are the problem.
Yep. Picks up
And
a few votes
to
there.
the average unengaged Australian, they might go, oh, that seems like a coherent narrative.
Yeah.
And so that if that's more important to them than big business getting a tax break, then they will vote for big business getting a tax break, you see.
Or, the economy.
Yes.
Individuals not realising that it has almost nothing to do with them.
But there's another problem here, which is how people get their information. It's not just from politicians speaking.
No.
It's actually corporate news media spins any story in a way that will sell papers, for one thing, and in a way that suits the corporate owners of the paper.
Yeah, because someone wealthy owns the paper,
Yeah. So, for example, in Brisbane, or I don't know if it's the whole of Queensland, but in Brisbane, there isn't a non-Murdoch newspaper.
Yeah, right.
And so it's been interesting watching Brisbane sway back and forth between polar extremes of Labor and Liberal, which aren't extremes at all. They're just two teams
similar.
playing the same sport, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if say a tax cut for the rich is on the cards, a great big media monopoly will spin that in such a way that it's fine, or they'll just ignore it and focus on the other policies, like, brown people are bad.
Yeah.
And so the idea of people making a rational choice about their own future is kind of murky.
Yeah.
Because there's always incentives for the providers of the news media.
They've got their own agenda.
Yes.
And that may not ever align with the average voters.
Yeah. Yeah, but we get the same thing with war.
Yeah.
You know, the US-Australia alliance, where we've got to rush off and save people. Is usually how it's spun and how we get approval. Oh, this will not stand. This injustice over there will not stand, these poor people.
Despite every one of those injustices having been proved to have no evidence afterwards.
Yeah, no evidence, and also the fact that bombing the shit out of people is not exactly helping them.
No, it's not. They're cities where
place.
something bad may have happened are now just rubble, where a lot of really bad things did happen and they were generally are bombs.
Yeah, I can't think of a single war, well, not in my lifetime, that hasn't in the end been about somebody making a lot of money from the resources of the people who were there.
No, it's all resource war.
So
it's economic war.
Very good at demonizing any leader, we feel like, if they happen to have a patch of land that's got stuff that we want.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's been happening.
Yeah, but just back to the democracy thing for a while and how opinion, you don't have a right to an opinion if you're in a position of leadership, especially. Like if it's something that doesn't matter, like strawberry ice cream versus chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, sure.
No problems. You can have your opinion, I'll have mine. That's clearly a different thing to whether something is a fact or not.
Yeah. There aren't anything. There are no such thing as alternative facts.
Yeah, the truth doesn't care about your opinion of it.
No. No.
So, for example, if it's inconvenient for business, that the fact remains that the more profit they take home doesn't correlate to more employment.
Yeah, and that is inconvenient and also a
And that's
fact.
terribly inconvenient fact.
Yeah.
And yet they keep plugging away with the same narrative
Yeah.
that we have to cut tax for the rich in order for them to invest in our country.
Yes, which is total bollocks.
Well, it's been essentially we've got enough decades of data for this policy now that it doesn't work.
No.
And yet instead of that being the focus, it's the unemployed people, they're all lazy bludgers, you see.
Yeah.
They're less than you hardworking people. And so the low-income earning working class ends up turning on the less fortunate than themselves instead of looking upwards.
Yeah, but the real bludgers. Thieves.
Yeah, parasites.
Yeah, parasites.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I suppose we do tend to forget, and I was talking about this to someone recently, today in fact, the government works for us. They're our employees.
It
Not
would
our
be
rulers.
nice if people knew that,
Yeah.
but because people don't hold that foremost in their
Exactly.
mind, it doesn't end up
No,
being real.
We treat them like our lord rulers.
Yeah.
They are the authority, where in actual fact,
They also treat themselves that way.
they do. And they aren't the rulers of this country. They are the caretakers of this country on our behalf for us voters.
So judging by the evidence I can see around me, it's not my country.
No.
It's
been
their
co-opted,
country.
yeah.
It's been there's been declared, like in Western capitalism and neoliberal capitalism especially, it's been declared that there's been a slow motion coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And we can see that in the evidence all over the place. Whether it's voting results or whatever. It just doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I mean,
Okay, for example, we're talking about justice
Yeah.
the other time. And if I said I can prove that somebody killed 50,000 of our citizens in a couple of years, wouldn't you? And it was an optional thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't essential.
They didn't have to.
What would we do to somebody like that or a group of people like that in our justice system?
We would probably say, no, they're politicians. It was all worthwhile.
Oh, so it's normalized. So
Well-
essentially mass murder can be normalized. So if somebody...
If you do it by bureaucracy, you know.
that's the thing. It shares the blame because if people elect people to do this job,
Yeah.
part of the blame for what they do is on the people who voted for them, right?
Yeah.
Now, what if, though, the same results would happen no matter who you voted for? Because the people don't decide policy. We determine who's doing a job.
Yeah.
And whoever's doing the job is in a scenario where there's a lot of financial interests and lobby groups and all sorts of things that prevent them from ever doing what the people want. So it's not actually us to blame.
No.
Because the inexorable move towards neoliberalism is bipartisan.
Yeah.
Privatizing everything,
Yeah.
cutting welfare, decreasing tax for the rich. All these sorts of things have just been ongoing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like, we should be voting for policies, not people.
Yeah, definitely. We should also be looking at question time and thinking, are these people we would like being our employees?
Well, if they're not, what are you going to do about it?
Well, hopefully everybody, if they actually thought of that before voting, they might not vote for people that behave like kindergarteners. Actually, kindergarteners tend to behave better than question time.
Yeah, but I think there's a thing about the party politics culture where even well-meaning people, once they reach a certain point, there's enough compromises that have had to have gone on and enough immersion into that particular subculture that if they retain their idealism, they either quit or they're considered a weirdo.
Yeah.
They're less able to make deals.
Yeah.
They're
not taken
portrayed
seriously,
by media as being some kind of kook because the establishment is there to defend itself.
Yeah.
So a well-meaning politician might actually be an oxymoron at a point in their career where they ought to be voted for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose, like, if you've ever had experience with career politicians, so we're talking local council up,
Yeah.
they get a lot of these council people get their job in the council quite early and work their entire lives in government jobs. And the culture that breeds, they've never been exposed to anything other than committees.
Yes, there's a loss of
subcommittees.
perspective.
Yeah, they live bureaucracy. They don't understand how ridiculous it all is.
Well, let's say we could completely eradicate the harmful effects of a disease in our society by spending $500 million. Right?
Yeah.
And someone's pushing for that.
Mm-hmm.
The way the party politics will work is, we can't do $500 million. We'll do $250 million.
Yeah.
And then eventually it gets compromised and watered down to the point where you got $100 million, which doesn't solve the problem, but it's treated as a success.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Well, it's like recently.
So compromising things down to them being completely ineffectual.
Recently with domestic abuse funding, it was cut severely by the Liberals, and then they gave a little bit back, and it was lauded as the great, wonderful thing.
Oh yeah,
but they'd only returned a quarter of what they cut 2 years earlier.
Yeah, it's like if I stole $100 from you, and then the following week I said, "Look, man, here's $20.
Yeah,
you're welcome. Don't need to thank me. You know."
Yeah.
Or actually, I demand thanks.
Yeah,
you know?
Look how generous I'm being, giving you $20 back.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
It's farcical.
But the thing is, part of it does come back to media, because media's role is supposed to be putting context on the events that are happening.
Well, if you look at some of the happiest, most successful democracies in the world, they all tend to have a much freer media, a much less biased media, or at least aspects of the media that is. I know, like in Denmark, for instance, they have pre-election, they have a clinical breakdown of all the parties' policies and how they relate and the facts on them. So
can you imagine how that would occur in Australia?
I've got no idea how that could occur.
So there's a massive committee we call government, and it's divided into factions, and they're arguing over a word like can or must.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would take 6 months for them to figure out what should be on the sheet. And even then, it's pretty unlikely for anything at all controversial to be remaining.
Mm. Well, that's why the government wouldn't be responsible for making that fact sheet.
But then we've had government war on impartial or independent committees before.
Yeah.
Like CSIRO gets stuffed about.
This
or
is what
Gillian Triggs gets stuffed about.
This is the point of journalism, though. Journalists should be doing this for us.
Do you know what happens, though, in a corporate media context of journalism?
Well, it's inconvenient to the owner.
Well, they just don't get their story published, or they just stop getting work. Yeah. Like at the moment, newspapers are struggling because of the internet, and they're cutting down on staff, and the existing staff have to do something like 6 pieces a day.
Yeah. So
you can imagine how the quality of work would suffer.
Definitely.
You're trying to knock out 4 to 6, 800 to 1,000 word pieces on relevant topics to try to do your duty as the estate of journalism. It's a I don't know, a hair's breadth away from being automated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where particularly on geopolitical matters, you'll see the same stories cropping up on several news media sites with just a few words changed.
Yeah.
Like the entire body of the piece is almost identical. And that's one of the things that bugs me, is when you know that there's an alternative point of view that's quite coherent and with evidence in it, but you don't see it in the paper. You just don't see it anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, you hear the cliches about old style reporters, seeking truth and, illuminating whatever it is. Yeah. It's not even possible anymore. They've been beaten into submission.
Well, they don't get put on TV or in the paper anymore. Like Chris Hedges is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who was a war correspondent. He's had a long career. He's only on RT now.
Yeah.
He's on Truthdig as well.
Yeah.
Truthdig, or was it Real News? I forget. One of those anyway. Quite legitimate progressive news sites who actually have some integrity and do provide facts. It's not just all narrative. You see what I mean? But if people are supposed to vote based on the information they're getting from vested interests, there's almost no point. If the majority of people simply form an opinion between the two artificial poles of Liberal and Labor, then there is no real rational analysis, and there's not really any rationality to their vote.
Well, actually, it's very much like with kids. You can have 1 lollipop now or 3 lollipops in an hour. There is no alternative. You set the parameters of...
You define where the debate's going to occur.
Probably that's too nice a scenario. It's more like you can either have this sandwich that I am handing you right now, or you can have nothing. No, you can't have the cake that you want. The options are sandwich or bed.
Yeah. And in politics, the options would be cut unemployment by $50.
Yeah.
Or just cut it by $20 and that's that.
Yeah.
You see? So all of a sudden the narrative never includes the necessity of increasing it.
Yeah.
So when everyone's arguing, that's the two opinions, I've got to choose between these two opinions.
Well, I had someone recently say, but he's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, there was some stuff about that in the US election.
Yeah.
Lesser evil voting is a really bad thing. Because there was a little comic strip where it was like, which is less evil out of Trump and Clinton? The next time it would be, which is less evil between this open fascist and Trump? And the next time it would be, he's actually Beelzebub.
Yeah.
And compared to, I don't know, a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Who do you want to vote for?
Yeah.
I'd rather vote for a pot plant, thanks very much.
Yeah, exactly. We keep getting told that we have to choose between, for instance, Hillary or Trump.
Yeah.
And, we didn't get told that, but
seriously, Turnbull is just a front puppet in front of a bunch of vested interests.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure what Shorten's for. He doesn't really seem to have any particular charisma. He's just the alternative to the Blue Party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just nothing there. There's no vision in either of these parties that is remotely addressing the series of crises that...
No, that's not what they're there for anymore.
They're just continue. It's like a circular logic where the point of party politics is to continue itself. So that's how donations happen too, like the money in politics.
Also the corruption. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
There are laws against half of what these people do, but they can only be enforced by the AFP if another sitting member calls the AFP in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also parliamentary privilege laws in all sorts of ways where you're not even allowed to accuse somebody of doing something dishonest by impinging their morals or something.
Yeah, weird stuff like that. And the other thing is, even if the AFP find evidence, they can't pursue it unless there's a politician calling for it. But no politician will call for it, because if they call for it against the other party will call for it against them, and then they'll all end up in jail because every single one of them's got something dodgy
none of them
going.
end up in jail.
Oh, of course. None of them will end up in jail.
No.
They'll just all have a bit of a shit sandwich and get on
Here's
with
the thing, that the rule of law seems to be suspended in two ways. One is about government officials, and the other is about the wealthy. The wealthier you are, the more of the economy you own, the less you are able to be restrained by the legal system.
Yep.
So we don't have a rule of law, and it turns out our democracy is mostly an illusion.
Yep. We have gone back to nobility.
yet,
we are back in feudalism.
Yes, it's been
basically
called neoliberal capitalism has been declared to lead several different directions by different people.
Yeah.
One is neo-feudalism.
Yep.
And it's much more pronounced in the US, where something like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 children go hungry some days of the week.
Oh, wow.
In the US, the richest country on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Australians are living in poverty. Like a New Start is projected by, I think it was the Australia Institute, to be 30% below the poverty line.
Wow.
By, I think it was 2019. So
Awesome.
a couple of years' time, if things continue as they're going, 30% below the poverty line. Now, we've got to keep in mind, this is 1 million people.
Mm. Yeah.
So isn't it government's job to provide healthy, productive work for people?
I saw something recently that said there's about 3 million Australians living in poverty right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's a secret shame when people are struggling.
Mm.
Like when people are really struggling, like people feel bad about themselves for being unemployed even when they're trying really hard. They feel bad because there's this narrative that they must somehow be broken or lazy or deficient in some way. But as we know, if there's no work, there's unemployed people. It's just cause and effect.
Yeah. And then there's a huge number of underemployed people.
Yeah, but so government policy is about giving more money to the wealthy corporations so that they will have more money to invest in the society and employ people.
Yeah.
But as it's turned out, that doesn't work. So governments surrendered that bit of control and refused to take it back because it's not within their ideological framework to have anything but the private sector provide employment.
Yeah.
So they're negligent.
Yeah.
Because factually it's not working.
No, they've got an ideology, an opinion, and they're holding true to it over all facts.
It's not just an opinion, it's self-interest, which is part of the ideology.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because, like, just as an example, I vote. Gina votes. I don't think my vote counts towards what happens anywhere near as much as Gina's vote counts.
No.
Not because of the vote itself, because that's just about people.
Yeah.
Because she has control over policy that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So money rules the democracy. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at is we get obsessed with elections and which person's good for which job.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of an example. Like, if you hire a person to do an impossible job and they fail at it, you hire another person to do the same job and they fail at it, and then you hire another person to do the same job and they fail at it.
Yeah.
So there's something about the job itself that is broken because we're not getting the results that people want. And I do mean, see, this is the double-edged sword of it, because manipulating popular opinion at the same time as the electoral process to elect a representative and having that representative's hands tied by the financial interests in this country. So not only have you got the opinions of people being controlled, essentially, give or take some certainty there, but you've also got the politicians themselves being, if they don't play ball with big business, they can be assassinated, I don't mean assassinated pow. I mean, we're not the US, what I mean, yet. But they can be crippled, their career can be crippled, their party can be crippled. Like we mentioned another podcast, the $23 million worth of mining company advertising ousted a PM.
Yeah.
Changed the results of an election.
Yep.
That's really cheap.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
So anyway.
I mean, there's evidence that Malcolm Fraser, when he brought in Medicare and stuff like that and questioned the Australian-American alliance, the American government asked for him to be removed by the Murdoch media.
There are some still controversial and as yet unproven opinions, and I do have to say opinions, that the US got heavily involved in a regime change in Australia, yes. I mean, it's their modus operandi.
Yeah, that's what they do.
But now we don't need to do that because everybody agrees. Both sides of politics just agree that neoliberalism is the way forward.
All sides, really.
Well, the Greens less so. They still want a strong social policy in this country.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they can't get it because power doesn't lay with Parliament. Power lays with financial interests.
Yeah.
And even if they went from 10% to like 40% over the course of the next 20 years, and they actually were able to form government, imagine if they said, righto, we're going to remodel the economy and the rich actually have to pay tax, and the tax money we get from them we're going to redistribute to the poor so that they have some spending money and they can start their own businesses and get genuinely productive. We're going to have a policy about creating jobs for anyone who wants a job. We have a central bank, we can do that. You need new roads fixed? Done. Do it. We'll pay you.
Yeah.
That can be done anytime we want, right?
Yeah.
Then think about all the pressures that would be applied to that government. So the US says, oh, well, you can't make energy public. No, we've got treaties about you not doing that. That's not neoliberal. That's not free market. You see?
Yep.
So essentially, if any given country in the world decided to back away from neoliberal capitalism, their economy would tank because even something as simple as unofficial sanctions, where corporations just stop doing businesses freely, they stop investing in a given country. So then when that country's economy declines, because globalized supply chains and globalized financial markets mean we're all dependent on each other. And so when somebody just backs away from that system and starts to socialize things, like a public water supply, a public energy supply, public transport that's actually public instead of private, then other countries' financial interests will see that as lost profit and against the freedom of business.
Yeah.
And so when the economy tanks as money is withdrawn, all the other countries will point and say, see, socialized policies don't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're all actually trapped. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons that our capitalist economies aren't democratic.
Yeah.
Because the more public services we sell off, the more of the economy's in private control, the less we can vote on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more the politicians' hands are tied as well.
Yeah.
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 So we're doubling up on some of the other themes in other podcasts too.
Well, I mean, it all links in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. But back to that mixed bag idea. Tax cuts for the rich also will restrict brown people.
Yeah, yeah.
So nobody actually knows which policy caused someone to vote the way they did.
Yeah.
So if the fear-mongering worked really well on some communities and not well on others, they can both vote for the same party for different reasons.
Yeah.
The mixed bag is a real problem.
And then they feel, well, the party then has a claim to a mandate or whatever because it got so
for
many
all
votes.
their things.
Yeah.
For all their policies.
Even though they're only voted for, a bit for each policy.
Yeah, so if you have a political party that says, all right, we're going to increase unemployment by $50,
Yeah.
but we're also going to privatize healthcare.
Yeah.
You see the give and take that's there? Which one is more likely to be undone in future?
Yeah.
You see?
You never unprivatize Medicare.
You can never unprivatize
They can take away the $50 raise
easily.
any day.
Yeah. So, I guess back to to come full circle back to the start. A right to an opinion.
Yep.
Well, it really does help if you can argue the opinion coherently, and that's not what happens in politics either.
No.
Because, like we were saying, it's competitive sales. My policy is better than your policy. It only kicks 7 out of 10 people in the nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yours kicks 8 out of 10 people in the nuts.
Yeah.
And the same argument goes in reverse, and that's the entire two sides of the debate. It's not even a debate. It's
A few name
bollocks.
calls and just basically,
Yeah.
well, we don't believe that. The other person's a liar.
Yeah. But even if someone's proven to be a liar, nothing changes. Someone's just been fraudulent or, engaged in libel or slander for millions of people who are their employers, and nothing changes. It's just like, ho-hum, that's just politics.
Yeah.
We should not treat that as normal.
I just remembered fake tradie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is propaganda.
Yeah.
Look,
it's just straight up.
But yeah, propaganda.
bollocks.
In the US recently, there's been a lot of stuff about whose propaganda, which networks are propaganda and which aren't, or the fake news meme that's become completely meaningless now, right?
Yeah.
We like to think in capitalist democratic countries like the US and England and Australia that we have free press, right? And that's why the word propaganda seems alien. It seems like something the Soviets used to do or something like that. But no, propaganda is simply not reporting a story. Propaganda is an opinion expressed in fake tradie garbage, which is nationalised and seems like it's legitimate because
Yep.
it serves an agenda for people with power.
Yep.
Sorry, are you getting bored just saying yep while I rant on?
It's all right. I'm listening.
All
It's
right,
true, though.
Yeah. So I guess to summarise that point, I'd say what's the difference between state propaganda and privately owned corporate propaganda if the corporate propaganda says exactly what the state wants it to say? Like whether they choose to or whether they're forced to, it's just the same damn thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it really is. One's just a mechanism for the other, really, isn't it?
Well, this was largely the difference between Soviet-style communism and US capitalism. Was one used force and the
Yep.
other used persuasion.
Yeah.
The result's the same. People are
Yep.
controlled.
Yep.
Because if you don't know how much of your own news is fake
Yeah.
or propaganda, but you've still got this idea that it's all free press, then you actually question less than if you know it's state propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, any final words on that?
Chin up.
Chin up.
Keep smiling.
Well, let's just summarise for a sec. We don't have a democracy. We have an economy.
Yep.
We are ruled, not represented.
Yep.
And the rulers of this country seem really keen on bombing the shit out of brown people
Yeah.
and kicking poor people
Yeah. It seems like.
for their own gain.
Yep.
In both ways.
Yep.
Cool democracy, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's great, isn't it? What to do?
So the Greens are going to be trying to use a democracy we don't have to fix a democracy.
Yep.
To get the democracy we want, they need to use a democracy we don't have.
Yeah. Work from inside the system. But the system won't let you.
Yeah, computer says no.
Yeah, computer says no. Sorry, have you filled out form 31J6? I can't find form 31J6. Well, that's because we discontinued it 7 years ago. Well, then how am I meant to fill it out? Well, I don't know. That's not my problem.
Yes, that you have to go to the other department for that. Yeah. Anyway, I think these days it'd be, well, Gina says no. The banks say no. Not the computer.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
Have fun, be good, or be good at it.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. We hope our discussion was useful in providing additional perspectives about the topics of today. We hope you join us again next time. Bye-bye. Peace.